Hello everyone, my name is Alejandro from the experts team in XTM and welcome to today's webinar on the new filter template options in XTM. I'll introduce the topics and agenda next, but first a couple ground rules. All attendees are muted, but you are able to enter questions in the questions box in the GoToWebinar interface. So feel free to enter them there. We will go through the webinar and we'll have time for Q&A after the presentation is done. I'm aiming to wrap up this presentation in around 20 minutes, so we can leave time for QA. All right, so the topic of today's webinar is about the new filter template options in XTM Cloud, which are font mapping and segmentation rule builder. Some of these capabilities were already available either through backend configurations or through the analysis manager, but today we'll see how they are exposed to the admin user in a new interface where things can be set up directly without having to rely on support. And we'll also see how the overall experience, user experience is improved. The filter template feature is in constant improvement by the product team. So you should expect more extended functionalities coming in the future releases. These two new features are introduced in 13.3, and previously there were other options, basically custom variables and filters, which were only available previously via support. So the idea in general is to make all these possible configuration options which were available in the backend through a support ticket exposed to the end user, so you can have more control over the configuration, more visibility, and you don't have to rely on response time from support and be more independent in how you configure your projects. All right, so we'll have a brief overview of the filter template builder, and then I'm going to jump directly into font mapping and segmentation rule builder. So and then we'll have time for Q&A. So these are the topics for today. All right, so I'm going to jump to XTM Cloud now. Oh, please. Okay, so as you might already know, filter templates are accessible in the configuration tab in XTM, in XTM Cloud under filter templates. We can see, so right now we have three levels at which we can define where these configurations will apply. We have project level, customer level, and global level. This might sound familiar for those of you who are working with XTM right now. There's a hierarchy in general in XTM and how the configurations are inherited from level to level. So whatever is defined at global level can be overridden by a configuration at customer level, which is the inferior or the child element to global, and then projects are created individually within each of the customers, and you can select a different configuration or filter template for your project. So the idea is if you don't select any filter template for project, the filter template or the configurations that will be chosen will be the ones defined for the customer by default. And if the customer doesn't have any configuration defined, such as, for example, demo customer here, it will go and pick the configuration from global. So it's a sort of a fallback mechanism through which global level will be on the bottom, And if nothing is selected, it will default to the global level, all the way up from project. All right. So previously we had a few options in our template. So templates are a group of configurations, we could call it, that you are able to select when you are creating a project. So let me go to the project creation form here. I will pick any customer, and among all the options I have filter template, right? So filter template, as you can see here, this list is the same list that I have in configuration. So I'm able to pick a series of configurations that will instruct the system on how to process my files, how to generate the target files, and some rules that are specific to file manipulation and conversion of elements. So previously, and I'm going to go to, for instance, I'm going to go to add a new template. So this is test, or let's put sample template for webinar. I can decide if I want this to be available only for selected customers or not. I'm going to make this for all customers. So previously we had filter and custom variables, right? Filter is the content, the content filter. So it allows you to select, depending on the format of the source file, select what items are translatable and what items are not. So we can see it will ask me for a file type here. For now, the ones exposed in this interface are Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, but the team is working on extending this to all the file formats that we support. So for instance, you had the option to make sheet names translatable or not, comments, hyperlinks, etc. So selecting what is translatable or not in the different in the different file formats that we are exposing here. This is filter. Then we had custom variables. So custom variables are, well, all file types are available right now here. So we can define this for all file types. And this allows, so after the content is picked up, and the non-translatable part of the file is separated from the translatable part of the file, we can keep adding rules to protect text by converting it into an inline tag. So, for example, you can have this kind of variables between curly brackets. This will be turned into an inline element, which will prevent the linguist from editing its inside. Also will trigger QA checks if these elements are missing in target. So this is a layer of protection on top of the exclusion of non-translatable content when you are parsing the files. But we can also see here in the configuration type, font mapping and segmentation. Now for font mapping, I'm going to, and these are the two that I'm going to go over, right? Font mapping and segmentation are the ones that for today's topic. So I'm going to go to a template that I already created. This template only has a configuration for font mapping, but each template can have a configuration for font mapping, filters, custom variables, and segmentation, all inside of one. So you'll choose one template that includes multiple layers of multiple parameters of processing and they're their own configuration inside. So yeah, let me show you how the font mapping works. Actually, I'll go to this one over here. So I added a font mapping configuration. I added a font mapping configuration here. And well, okay, yeah, because it's already configured. All right. And I chose to apply it to Microsoft Word. Right now, Microsoft Word is the only format that this feature is available for. There are plans to extend it to some other formats. But for now, we only have it available for Microsoft Word. And what this does is you define the font that you want to change the source text into for the translated files once you generate the target files in XTM. So what I did here was I established that I want Gothic UI Lite for whenever the target language is Japanese, and Cambria for whenever the target language is German. So you can type here the font that you want. For example, yeah, all the UGothic or all the different configurations of Cambria, and you have some other formatting options, right? And you can also establish conditions to only change the font if the source font is a given font. So let's say if this is Arial, then I want it to change. If it's not Arial, then I don't want it to change. Then some other options related to script. So if the font contains support for Latin, East Asian, or complex script, it will be in scope for mapping. And on top of that, we can choose language by language, which makes sense because we don't want to make one font change since they are character set sensitive. So for Japanese, I want UGothic UI Lite because it maps to the characters in Japanese, but not for German, right? So what I will do is I will make use of this configuration by creating a new project. All right. So I will create a project under marketing. I will choose this project template, which has machine translation and some options for mapping. Right now, I'm not going to choose any filter template, so you can see how this works normally. Probably for those of you who have experience with XTM, you've already seen how this goes, but let's see it in action. So this is the webinar font mapping project. I'm going to pick this one file for translation. So this is a template. Sorry, let's view it in the print layout. This is a template that we have internally for communication. So nothing out of the ordinary. We have headings and paragraphs. I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to go to create the project. I'll quickly finish and generate target files because what we want to focus is on the target files and see how they look like. So as soon as it finishes analysis, it's probably taking some time. as it's sending the content for machine translation, I wanted to have, especially for Japanese, the characters in the target, so we can visualize them. All right, so there they are. We can see that, for instance, for Japanese, we have the translated content. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the project. And then I'm going to go to the files and generate the target files. And download. Okay. I'll drag this window here and extract it so we can see each of the files. Actually, let's only focus on Japanese here for a second. So we can see that there is a font, but the font in this target file from Japanese is the default font that Microsoft Word fallbacks into. So this is MS Mincho. However, regardless of what it says here, Roboto is a font that does not have support for Japanese characters. So Microsoft Word uses a sort of a proxy fallback font for this, which is called MS Mincho. I can show you here how it looks. It looks exactly the same, MS Mincho, than what we have. If I change to UGothic or some other font, it will look different. But MS Mincho is the same as the one that shows up as Roboto here. And if we look at French and German, so remember I had a rule for German when I wanted to change it to Cambria, but what I see right now is Roboto as well, because I didn't use the filter template, right? So let's jump to the general info here. I will apply this filter template on the already created project. And of course, it will prompt me for reanalysis. So I will go ahead and reanalyze the project. So now it will parse it with the rules that I defined in the filter template, right? So this is the font mapping rules. Again, let's allow a few seconds for analysis. All right. So here we are. And what I will do is I'll get rid of this download so we're not confused. I'll generate the files again. Oh, we need to send finish projects. And download the files. Remember, in my configuration, I had UGothic UI Lite for Japanese and Cambria for German. I'll go back to the project here, download it, go to my downloads. Open the files. So let's look at Japanese first. We can see that the font is applied. It's UGothic UI light, different from MS Ninja, right? If I open German, the font is Cambria. And if I open French, I didn't select anything for this. So this, as it was in its Roboto. But maybe I want to, because I want to show you something. Let's say I'm not happy with how Gothic UI Light looks like, and I want to change it to Medio. So I can update the filter template, reanalyze, do the same process all over again. What I will see when I go to the configuration of the font mapping is that Medio is not in the list. But this does not mean that it's not supported by XTM. The list of fonts that that the system is showing are a sort of a default list. This doesn't mean that if you have the font installed on your on your computer or the computer which is going to open the file, you can still use it. So I can directly type in here Medio UI, and I get a warning sign, right? The fonts entered manually are not validated. So, but we will see how these how this rule, I'm going to apply it for Japanese, still will print this value in the Word file, and it will open successfully when I reanalyze the file. So let me reanalyze this. Now with the new rule. And when I generate the target files, Japanese should have Medio, even if I didn't have it installed in, even if it wasn't available in the drop-down menu. So this applies to any font that you have installed. Wait, actually, this is not the project that I was looking at. Okay, it's this one. Let's go here and delete the previous translations, target files. I have the core document open. Yes. Okay. I'll delete this. And I'll go to the file that I just downloaded from XTM, and it's using Medio UI. So yeah, because I guess it's not possible to include every possible font. That doesn't mean that you cannot use it. The target file will be printed. So within the values that compose the Word document, the font information will be there, and you'll be able to see it regardless. Okay, so Then let's go to the other configuration possible in the new filter template options, which is segmentation. So I created again a template with segmentation rules in here, but you can add segmentation rules to this very same template we were using before. So font mapping is already established, but segmentation is not for this. So I can create a rule for segmentation, right? In my case, I have it separated in here, and I created one configuration for Microsoft Excel and one for Microsoft Word. And there's also one for all files. So all files meaning anything that is not Excel or Word in this case. So the way the main UI for the segmentation rule builder, if you are familiar with SRX rules, it's pretty similar. But instead of doing the work on an XML file, you have a graphic interface where you can enter the regular expressions for the patterns that you are looking for before and after the break that you want to make in segmentation. And also you're able to manage the priority of these rules because, as you might be aware, the order does matter, and more complex patterns should be put on top so that they're chosen in the right order by the parser. In my case, for this test, what I did was for Excel, let's go to Excel. I pulled, so you are able to pick, of course, each source language, because segmentation rules will depend on the source language of the files, because the source content comes with different rules by which languages break up words. So not all have the same character sets and so on. So if I add Japanese, for example, in here, I will get a set of standard rules for Japanese, and some of those rules will not be present in the English file. For example, if I go to page 2 here, I can see anything that's related to numbers in Japanese, followed by a point. I want the system not to break the sentence when these patterns appear. So this is a number in kanji followed by a point. It should not break there, and it should break with the sentence marker or the little maru in Japanese, in because it's in this character is not present in English. So each language will have its own set of rules by which you want to make segmentation or do not want to make segmentation. And the definition that the UI is pulling by default is the same definition that you used to find in the analysis template, the analysis manager, sorry, the segmentation rules in the analysis manager. How has the user experience improved here? Well, in the analysis manager, you can decide how segmentation rules will apply for a language at global level, so for all customers, or you can also set segmentation rules specific to a customer. But the difference is when you create a project, for example, for legal here, I have a set of segmentation rules that I uploaded with a SRX file. First of all, if I want to tweak it, I need to download the SRX file, edit offline, and upload again. I don't have a visual element in the UI to be able to exclude some of the rules. But also, I cannot make this file format specific. So my only the only place where I can make a distinction is customer. So it's global or customer level. Also, I cannot have different sets of segmentation rules under one customer. One customer will only have one set of segmentation rules, and if not, it's the global. Well, in the new file filter builder, I can establish segmentation rules to be chosen at project level. So when I create my project, I can select the filter template, which will contain these rules. And I'm not tied to only one set of segmentation rules for all file formats within that customer. I can choose on a project by project basis. So yeah, that's pretty much the UI that's offered by the file filter builder. You can add your regular expression for the pattern to be found before the break and after the break, and you're able to choose whether if you want to break the sentence or not. So produce segmentation or protect from segmentation in here, and also toggle on and off each one of them. I will go to the one. I was in Excel, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'll go to the English for my Excel, and you will see that I disabled this for, which would be kind of the same thing as replacing the current SRX file in the analysis manager for next SRX file, which would not contain these elements. So, it will be the same as just doing, for instance, grabbing these four and just deleting them and upload this as a SRX file. But this is a sort of a less flexible way of working with file download and upload. Overall, this is more dynamic. I can toggle them on and off, and add also rules on the fly. So yeah, it's a more convenient way. We believe that the user experience is better in this interface. And I will show you one project that I created where the segmentation between the two file formats is different, which is not something we were able to see before, right? So I will open this docx file in the workbench, and I'll also open, it's the same content, but I copied and pasted it in Excel. So it's using the Excel segmentation rules, and we'll see how this is the Word file. I have full stops, and this is producing a segment, and in the Excel I have the whole paragraph. This was previously not possible to do in the same project, because the only way I was able to establish different segmentation rules was by source language. So all files within this source language will be segmented in the same way. So yeah, this is the new segmentation rule builder. for filter templates, and it's ready to use from 13.3 on. So yeah, I believe for those of you who are on cloud right now, you probably are upgraded to 13.4, so this should be available to you. And if you are on private cloud installation, 13.4 must be around the corner, so you'll be able to make use of these new features. All right, I'll open for any questions, monitoring the questions panel in GoToWebinar. All right, it doesn't look like we're getting a lot of questions. In any case, if you already have 13.3 or 13.4 and want to test it out, and you have questions after you get hands-on, because probably that's the time when most of the questions will come, feel free to reach out. Oh, okay, Karine, you have one question. Yes, feel free to write it in the text in the text box in the panel, and I'll go ahead and respond if possible. If you have questions while working in the files, how can you reach out? Okay, sorry. Yeah, that was you can reach out to my team, experts@xtm.cloud, for this type of questions. You probably are assigned a customer success consultant as well. So there are multiple portals. You can raise a question ticket to support. So this is, let me check in here. We have the request review and support. If you are I'm not logged in. Okay. I need to log in as an agent. But there's the Jira Service Management portal, which you should have access if you already have a subscription in XTM. You can also reach out to your customer success consultant, or if not, reach out to us in the experts team at experts@xtm.cloud, and we should be able to point you in the right direction if we cannot answer the question ourselves. All right. Okay. All right. Well, like I said, we have different channels. You can reach out with any questions related to the file filters and the configurations. We'll probably be doing webinars on other functionalities from the file filter builder as they come out. So it's always good to see how the functionality is improving and how things can be combined um, when working with your projects and to help processing your files to better suit your needs. So yeah, hope to see you around for future webinars, and wishing you all a nice weekend ahead.